She cared for her mother for 3 years. Her brother changed the will 6 days before she died. My mother was diagnosed with early-stage dementia in the fall of 2019. My brother Marcus called me when he got the news. We were on the phone for 12 minutes. He said it was terrible. He said he didn't know what to do. He said he was really glad I was closer to her geographically, because the logistics were going to be complicated. That was the last time Marcus ever discussed our mother's care. I want to be precise about that, because I think precision matters here. Not close to the last time. The last time. Every conversation after that, about the in-home aide schedule, about the medication changes, about the power of attorney, about the moment she stopped recognizing her own kitchen, I had alone, or with the doctors, or with the aide, whose name was Clara, and who became, in many ways, my closest partner in the years that followed. Marcus sent flowers for her birthday in 2020. I don't know who picked them out, probably his assistant. My mother's name was Vivienne. She had been a high school English teacher for 26 years. She had opinions about sentence structure and had once made Marcus rewrite a birthday card to her because the punctuation was sloppy. She was funny and exacting, and she loved her garden. And she taught me to make her mother's bread recipe by feel, not by measurement. Because a recipe is just a suggestion from someone who didn't trust themselves. She left me everything when she wrote her will in 2017. The house, the savings, the jewelry, the garden tools, which she noted specifically because she knew I'd want them. I know this because I was there when she wrote it. Marcus was in Denver at a sales conference. I moved my life to accommodate hers. That's not a complaint. I want to be clear about that. I would do it again. She was my mother, and she was losing herself in pieces, and I was not going to let her lose herself alone. But I also want to be honest about what it cost. I had a job I loved. I was a project manager at an architecture firm, and I negotiated a remote arrangement that mostly worked until it didn't. And then I took a leave of absence, and then I left. I had a relationship that didn't survive the weight of what I was carrying. I had a life that I put in a box in the corner of my mother's spare room and told myself I'd get back to later. I was her emergency contact, her medical proxy, her grocery shopper, her medication manager, her memory. When she forgot what year it was, I told her. When she forgot my name and called me by her sister's name instead, I answered to it. When she had nights where she was frightened and confused and didn't understand why her body wasn't cooperating, I sat with her until the fear passed. Marcus visited twice in 3 years. Once at Christmas 2020, when he stayed for 4 days and spent most of it on his laptop in the kitchen. Once in the spring of 2021, when my mother had a good stretch and seemed more like herself, and he cried in the car when he left and texted me that it was really hard for him. I read that text, and I put my phone down, and I went back inside, and I helped my mother with her dinner. She died on a Tuesday in October. The weeks before were hard, in a way I'm not going to try to describe fully, because some things don't translate into words. What I will say is that she knew me near the end. She had windows, hours where the fog lifted, and she was herself, or something close. In one of those windows, she held my hand and said, "You stayed. You didn't have to, and you stayed." And I told her I wouldn't have done it any other way. Marcus flew in 2 days before she died. He sat with her. He held her hand. He was present, and I'm not going to take that away from him, because in the end, he came. She died with both of us there. And then the grief had about 6 days to breathe before everything else started. The call came from an attorney I had never heard of. Her name was on the letterhead of a firm in Denver, Marcus's city, not ours. She informed me that she was reaching out regarding the estate of Vivienne and that she was handling the will. I said, "I know the will. I was there when it was written." She said, "There was a more recent document. The new will had been executed 6 days before my mother died. It left the house to Marcus. It left the savings to Marcus. It left everything to Marcus, with the exception of the jewelry, which was to be divided equally, and the garden tools, which were left to me specifically, the only provision that matched the original document. I stood in my mother's kitchen for a long time after I got off the phone. Then I called my own attorney. Here is what the investigation found. Marcus had flown in not 2 days before she died, but 9 days before she died. I didn't know this because he stayed at a hotel and didn't tell me he was in town until he showed up at the house. During those 7 days before I knew he was there, he had arranged for a notary and 2 witnesses to visit my mother at a time when I wasn't present. He had brought a new will, prepared by his Denver attorney, and he had walked her through signing it. My mother, at that point, had been assessed 6 months earlier as having moderate to severe cognitive decline. She had days where she didn't know what year it was. She had days where she called me by her dead sister's name. She also had windows, and Marcus knew that. He had been watching her closely enough from a distance to know when she was likely to have one. The capacity question was the center of everything that followed. We obtained her medical records. We obtained testimony from Clara, the aide, who had been present on one of the days Marcus visited and had noted in her care log, standard practice, something she did every day, that Vivian had been confused and agitated that morning and had asked twice where she was. That was the same week the new will was signed. The probate case took 14 months. I am not going to pretend it was clean or quick or that justice arrived on a schedule that felt proportionate to what had happened. It didn't. It was expensive and it was slow, and there were days I sat in my attorney's office and felt like I was fighting for something I should never have had to fight for. But the medical records were clear. The care logs were clear. Clara's testimony was clear. And the attorney Marcus had used, who had never met my mother, had no prior relationship with her, and had been retained by Marcus less than 2 weeks before the document was signed, could not explain, under deposition, how she had assessed Vivian's capacity to execute a new will. The court voided the second will. My mother's original wishes stood. I have been asked if I forgave him. I have thought about this question more than most questions I've been asked in my life, and here is where I've landed. I don't think forgiveness is the right frame for what happened. Forgiveness implies something personal, a wound between 2 people who had a real relationship that got broken. What Marcus did wasn't to me, exactly. It was to our mother. It was to the 14 years she spent building something she wanted to leave behind. It was to the document she sat down and wrote when she was herself, fully herself, and said, "This is what I want." He tried to unmake her last clear wish. I can't forgive that on her behalf. That's not mine to give. What I can tell you is this: the house still has her garden. I still make her bread by feel, not by measurement. And on the shelf in the kitchen, in the spot where she kept her favorite things, there is a photograph of the 2 of us. Not from the last years, but from before, when she was whole and sharp and would have had opinions about every word of this story. She knew I would stay. She was right.